Good morning, everybody. It's Becky here at Aunt Beck's Creations, and I am just doing my stitch for this week because we didn't do one last week. And this one is called Thick and Thin. Again, we're working in this book here, Tunisian Crochet, Basic and Textured Stitches, Volume 1 by Petra Tornak Zimmerman. And the link to this whole series of books is in the description box. All right, this week's stitch, Thick and Thin, is so easy. Hi, Carol. But you have to remember to do the chain after before. It's hard to describe. Let's just do it. All right, so I've got my block almost worked, and it's a really cool stitch. But the first thing you're going to do before you start making stitches is you have to chain one here. So you immediately chain one. All right, now the stitch is actually pretty easy. You have to think back to the Tunisian knit stitch where you come down and you go between the legs of the stitch. So you go into the next stitch, but you go between them and then in between the first stitch and the second stitch. So you're coming out the back under the chain portions and you draw up your knit stitch. So that's the knit stitch, but this is basically an extended. So you have to chain. All right. So again, you come down, you go between the legs and then back to the back and draw up a loop and chain. And you do that all the way across between the legs of the next stitch, out the back, draw up a loop and chain. Don't forget the chain, because if you forget the chain, you won't get a block that looks like mine. You won't get this kind of, they call it thick and thin. So you can see a thick section and a thin section. So between the legs and out the back, draw it up and chain. And you do that all the way across. Even on your edge stitch, you're going to add an additional chain. I'll show you what I mean. Let's get across there. So you do a knit and then a chain, a knit and then a chain, a Tunisian knit. Hope that makes sense as to where I'm putting the hook, because each stitch has a front leg and a back leg. You're going in between those and then through the back before the next stitch and then chain. Sometimes I think it would be better if I just did a sample on every one of the stitches so that you don't have to wait for me to get all the way across. But it's all good. And I know a lot of us are getting busy with Christmas projects and that kind of thing, but I'm going to keep going on this Tunisian crochet at least until I finish this book. And all right, that's the last stitch, but you still have to work into your side. Now, and I'm going to tell you something now. You don't go in the one that's down here. You have to go into the one that was the chain that you make at the end. So you have to come, it's like the middle stitch on the side this time. And getting in there sometimes is a pickle. But just get through there. Because you don't want to go behind it. You want to go through the stitches. All right. So that's where you need to be. So this was like the end chain. This is a chain we're going to add here in a minute. And that's the chain one where we're pulling the stitches back off. So it's the middle stitch is where you want to go. So then you'll pull through just like you're doing a finished at the edge, but then you want to chain one And then you can say your stitch row is done. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Yep, I got my 20 stitches. So then you do the same as you normally would. You chain one off, and then you do the 2s. But you have to add the additional chain to get the height on every stitch across. If you forget it on one of your edges, you will end up with something that does this. So you got to remember to add an additional chain at the beginning and at the end. And how I think about it is the additional chains are going to be part of the knit, the crochet onto the hook as you go across. And then you don't have to think about it when you get to the end because you've already put that extra chain on, and then you start just working it off again. So I don't worry about it once I get across, and the return is always the return, same every time here. And once you get all the way over here, you just have to remember before you start doing this thick and thin stitch, which is basically a knit stitch with an additional chain, you have to do a chain here before you start. So you do a chain, and then you start doing that stitch between the legs, out the back, draw up your loop and chain. And you do that across again, and that's this stitch. This one I found I can get more relaxed with because I'm focusing so much on getting the hook into the correct position here that this has worked up kind of loose. It's actually going to be a bigger one of my blocks. I think it's almost like 6.5 inches wide. Let's see. Yeah, see, this one's working out 6.5 inches. So I think I'm almost to the point where I can start binding off. Well, now I've got a few more rows to go. I got to get up to here. So maybe 2 more trips across. So that is the thick and thin. Thick and thin. And next stitch, which I might do a stitch in between now and Friday, just so that we start getting caught up a bit, but we're going to do Tunisian double crochet, which is this one here. So if you want to see if there's a video and sneak ahead, you can. I'm not going to hold you to my schedule if you want to jump ahead. And if you've got the books, you can jump all over if you want to. It does give it an airy look, doesn't it? It's really kind of dense and warm though. I keep thinking how lovely any of these stitches would be in a sweater, but I need to get one of those Tunisian hooks that has the tail so I can work a whole bunch of stitches on and make a sweater for myself. I so enjoyed making the little sweaters for the baby sweaters that I want to make some more little sweaters and big sweaters, but I'd really like to make a sweater for myself out of this stitches. All right, guys, have a great day. I will be back in a little while. I need to do a Friday sews, and I will see you in that video after I pull my things together. All right, bye, guys. Have a great day.